That's
Good
right.
All right.
morning, everyone. Rob is here. Let's get started. He has
Yeah.
another meeting afterwards. Rob?
Yeah. Hang on one second.
Nice talking to you, Ivy.
Hi.
Nice talking to you.
You too.
I would print out that sheet I shared with you and bring it in. All right. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, I guess best is how to get unstuck if you feel like you're stuck, and maybe take a look at three simple things that we can do to elevate our business to the next level. One of the biggest challenges I see with, Remax agents, which tend to be, they have a very viable book of business, and sometimes we rely on that, and that becomes a limitation to what we can do. Does that make sense to anybody? You work hard to build these relationships, you start getting comfortable and addicted to referral business, and you get away from the prospecting that got you to that level in the beginning. Does that resonate with anybody?
Let's see if
Ivy, you're
okay.
laughing, huh?
Well, I'm going to say I think that's the majority of agents who've been in business a while. They come to depend upon it, but they don't use it. Number one, to keep in good contact with, because each sphere of person they have should be giving them 2 to 3 referrals every single year. So that's one of the things that is the most difficult. And agents get comfortable and they don't want to get out of their comfort zone. So they start just waiting the game.
I mean, referral business is what we're in the game for, but if we forget to supplement that with prospecting and building up active business, it kind of makes us a victim of what our clients are doing, correct? And then sometimes we lose a little bit of that yield because we're not staying in touch with them at an appropriate level. But I'd say that's a little bit lesser of a problem than not supplementing our business with building new business in. For example, if you're 10 years in the business, you have 10 years worth of relationships. The low hanging fruit is to make sure that that book of business that you have is coming back to you. And we do know that 85-90% of clients are satisfied with the agent that they use. Unfortunately, who knows what percentage of those people actually use the agent for the next time they do a transaction? Anybody know that number? It's probably under 20%, and that's because sometimes agents exit the business, very transient industry, and probably equal or more agents don't do an excellent job at keeping in touch with their past clients. And then the third point is we have all these sophisticated portals that are trying to steal our clients from us, right? I mean, if I ask anybody, like, where do you go to search for real estate? Where do clients go? Anybody?
Hello.
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 I mean, Zillow is become, a Band-Aid is not a Band-Aid. A Q-tip is not a Q-tip, but they've made home search sound like a Zillow, right? It's almost like a verb. And if we're not staying in touch, then we're, surrendering our client over to these portals. And, when I get into the conversation a little bit later, I'm going to talk about, some of the agents that are depending upon, leads for their business. I think that's a great way to supplement it, but it's certainly not a core business practice because when I was looking at my lead cost and my lead conversion over time, leads are getting more expensive. If anybody buys leads, would you disagree with me on that, or do I get unanimous consent there? Right. So leads are getting more expensive. Now here's the kicker. Who thinks that since we're paying more, we're getting a better quality lead? Anybody? No. So they're getting more expensive, and they're getting less of a lower quality. Okay. Yep. And you see somebody saying that now with some of the integration, Mr. Cooper is trying to steal our clients, right? Because the mortgage servicers are now trying to capture our business. So we need to basically build a moat around our business so that A, we can defend what we have, and B, if we want to grow, it's a choice. It's not a random event. Okay. So I'm going to give you the most simple articulation how to get unstuck and unleash your potential. Okay. And the first one is a mindset shift, and it's redefining what your job is. Your job's not to sell homes; it's to help your clients or your people do what they already want to do. And the key word is do what they already want to do. And that implies that we can have enough conversations to identify people who want to take action that we can help them with, right? Because you wouldn't want to go to a surgeon that is going to do surgery if you don't need it, right? Because you're probably going to walk away from that. We don't want to go to agents who are going to try to force people to buy or sell if they don't need it or they're not ready. Okay, so mistake number one that a lot of our peers do, and we might even be doing part of this, is we focus on the deal and not the client. We need to focus on people, not transactions. And this is the part that I love about it. This helps us line up with who we are with the way we're communicating with our clients and prospects, right? If we line up who we are with the way we communicate, it's not we're selling, we're helping, we're filling a void. Volume over conversations. Top agents focus on getting a large volume of conversations, build up ABSs, which is active buyers and sellers, and they know their numbers. Okay. And I want to just maybe ask this group, how many active buyers and sellers are you working with now? If you could maybe just put it in the chat. Okay. And the easy part of this business is the people who are going to come back to us, the past clients, the 2, 3, 10, and the other 11, 8, 8. So some of those who put 8 in, I'm gonna ask you and I see a lot of 8s. If you put 8 in, did you do between 15 and 18 transactions last year if you put 8 in? So who put 8 in? If you can just unmute yourself and let me know if that's pretty accurate.
Yes.
So who's that?
Jason.
Jason. And Beth, you put 8 in. How many did you do last year? And Adona, who else put 8 in?
15. I did 15. 8 listings, 7 buyers.
Beth was 8, Julie was 8.
Julie, how many did you do last year?
I think I did 21.
Okay. So so what I'm suggesting to everybody here is that the business that you do is not that much of a mystery. It doesn't happen in a black box. And many agents are probably with 5 to 8 active buyers and sellers. And this parlays into when you're in the business for a while. I think a lot of those clients are coming from our past relationships, and we're not supplementing it with enough new business, right? Because if you stop supplementing it with new business, what you're basically doing is trying to maintain what you did last year by getting the yield and the referrals from the prior year's business. So I would say that we need to focus probably a third of our time on having new conversations and adding new active buyers and sellers to our pipeline. And this is a game of skills and discipline. Would you all agree with that? Right? Because there are some people that are really talented, but they fall short because they don't have the discipline. And then there are some people that will just keep running and doing what you ask them to do, but they haven't perfected the skills to close the transactions. So if you look at your active buyers and sellers on a weekly basis, you're probably going to see between an 8 and 15% conversion rate. So if you have 8 active buyers, and you have a 12% conversion rate, you possibly can do 1 a week. If you have more buyers and a lower conversion rate, you ought to understand what those are and also be able to identify what an active buyer is. Julie, you said you had 8 active buyers. What does that mean to you?
People looking on a regular basis, actually viewing homes in person on a regular basis. Regular being different for different people, right?
Mm-hmm. So I hope it's helpful if you maybe, when you do like a weekly inventory of what your business looks like, whether it's on a Monday or a Friday before the weekend, look at how many actives you have and look at how many you are actually converting. This is another one that I talk about a lot, but professionals ask questions and diagnose the problem before proposing a solution or cure. Professionals ask questions and diagnose the problem before proposing a solution or cure. Salespeople look to make a sale. Professionals ask questions, right? And going back into the doctor analogy, if you go to a doctor and they don't ask questions to make the assessment, they just, they do surgery or whatever their specialty is, you probably would go and find a different doctor, right? It's not the standard of practice. So I think we need to get into the business of, asking deeper questions and not just, chasing the transaction. Okay. The second challenge, and this is probably where some of us are lulled into a limitation on our business, is we're lulled into working with past clients and referrals, which is great, but that takes us away from seeking new business relationships, right? because over time, a past relationship can only yield so much, right? They're only going to buy so many houses, and maybe this year might not be the year everybody's doing something. And should that impact our income? Should we be telling our kids that, hey, you need to take out a college loan or we can't go on vacation this year because, my past customers haven't decided to buy? I mean, that's a ridiculous statement, but in reality, it's what some of us, allow our business to do for us. Where are we getting new business relationships as a group? Like, I hope it's not Zillow dependent too heavy, but where are we getting our new business relationships from? That was Jennifer. You said Remax. Okay, open house is a great one. Jennifer, do you have a routine of doing a certain number of open houses per month?
Well, I haven't had many in the past couple months because I've been working with buyers, but I'm starting to do more now again. I usually typically have probably, I would say at least three or 4 days a week because in the villages you could do open houses 7 days a week. I mean,
And what's the purpose of an open house?
to sell the house and to get more business.
I mean, I think for my perspective, the point of an open house is to build new relationships. And then if that, in the statement I said earlier, it's to help people do whatever they already want to do. So if they come in there and that's not the right place for them, we want to be building relationships in a very intentional way. I don't know. Don't know. Beth or Anna said she couldn't unmute. The villages are a lot of lookers. Yeah. So you need to know your audience. And I see Scott Kaplan. So, Beth, you can't unmute either?
I just unmuted. I was curious, and I apologize to interrupt your meeting. For the villages, are there that many buyers looking for that many open house opportunities? I'm familiar with the villages, but not necessarily the metrics of data.
Yeah, there are people looking every single day of the week. People walk into our office in the villages, sometimes without an agent. A number of our agents have actually closed walk-ins that they take on showings later that day. It's a very unique market. Jen can speak to it a little bit more.
And I would think, David, you might need to have an elevated skill level because you have mostly retirees that might be bored.
Well, what's interesting there,
they could be wasting your time. Isn't that a real possibility or reality, Jen, or no?
No. I mean, right now we're definitely getting more of the people that are buyers and they're really serious buyers that are coming here. In the winter months, yes, you get more tire kickers because they're there as a snowbird or they're on vacation or whatever. So you get more look-see-loos. But we did a lot of business during the winter time, and now it's really ramping up with more buyers. And we do have quite a few listings too. We're definitely getting busier. I'm seeing a lot more interactions with buyers and referrals, and I've been extremely busy lately.
I heard they
Okay.
love to downgrade, upgrade, downgrade, upgrade.
Yep. They buy 3 times a year or three house. I'm sorry, not 3 times a year. 3 houses is the typical move for a villager. So they are not sure where they want to be, or a friend moves and they want to move near them or whatever. Or they don't like the village because they want to be closer to more activities that are more in their, what they find they like to do, like pickleball or golf or whatever. So they typically will move 3 times.
It's very
pretty
neat.
incredible. It's about every couple of years they're ready to put their home on the market and move to another village, huh?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Anna, you wanted to make a comment? You unmuted yourself,
I kind
or
of
you
forgot. Do you need so you can be a realtor, but for the new construction, they don't allow resale. Isn't my understanding you have to live in the villages to sell?
No.
So the villages, I don't want to go down that here, but the villages has a unique MLS system, but not for the entire group, but it's
Okay.
Anna, direct message me and I'll tell you about it.
I will, yeah, because I'm interested in visiting you. But getting back to the buyer situation, I had an open house. I got a couple of buyers. I'm working with some of them because I don't usually work with buyers. I mainly have listings. But this has acquired me a buyer and we're on the contract. I do agree with you when you're stating build relationship, because when people walk through the door of my open house, I'm not looking to sell them the house. Obviously, I tour them around. I try to find out a little bit more about them. and I talk about the community and what they love and what the community has to offer. And then we get down to a little bit of more personal. So I get to know them a little better, and they get to know me. So at some point they probably would prefer working with me than another agent kind of thing. So
Right.
because
So, and what you're reinforcing is, we're doing open houses basically to build relationships. And, we're not like a car dealership and a car salesperson where they work for the dealership and their role is to sell you a car at that dealership. We have a fiduciary relationship to identify what they want. Right. We're a different type of sales and we need to have that relationship so we can solve the problem and make the money. Is there anybody, Nicole, you unmuted or you went on camera. Did you have something to contribute?
I was just
No?
saying how
Okay.
Village is niche.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to know if there's anybody that's kind of been similar with their business over the past 3 years, not declining, but not really growing. And I just want to ask a couple questions if that's you and you're in that situation. And I know you're out there because I find that, agents who kind of reach their goal, let's just say you want to become platinum, then you've been platinum for 3 years, 250 to 300, and you look at why are you not growing? And I think they get lulled into this harvesting of their existing business relationships and they stop looking for new relationships with intent.
True.
Okay. Right. And a lot of Remax agents, we've been in the business for a while. We're extremely well skilled, but we surrender the discipline of looking for new business when we've hit our goal. Okay. So typical person that's in that situation might say, hey, I'm going to let somebody else do my open houses and I'm going to, change the practice of my business and not knowing that they're limiting the intake of new opportunities that they have, right? They're kind of lulled into that range 250 to 300 because that's what they've defined themselves to be. They stop growing. And that's fine if that's a decision that you make and you say, hey, I'm happy here. But if you feel stuck and you get a little bit frustrated because you're stuck, the first step is awareness, right? And knowing why you're stuck. And you basically become a victim of your own success because you hit that goal and now you're not, reaching like you were before. You're just sitting there and harvesting the business. And another mistake or missed opportunity for some, I won't use it as a mistake, but not focusing enough on sellers because sellers give us in this business the ability to have leverage. And it doesn't mean don't work with buyers, but in most cases, don't sellers then turn around to become buyers, right? So you can get a twofer, right? You can help a seller and then become a buyer. If you're working the buyer side, many times, they might have already listed their house in Fort Lauderdale, and now they're moving up to Port St. Lucie or Stewart, right? So you're not getting the transaction in Fort Lauderdale, you're only working one side of the business. So if you focus on sellers, you have the ability to leverage your time and you also can work with buyers without any additional acquisition cost in many cases. So they do give you probably a 2 or 3 to 1 leverage point. Does that make sense? Right. And many of us, work 50-50 buyers, sellers, or 60-40, 70-30 sellers to buyers because it's more scalable, more leverageable. Is there any takeaways that any of you have that are immediately relevant to your business thus far?
We always spend a little bit of money to boost listings in KV Core Bold Trail. It's not very much, $60 maybe, something like that. And you do get a lot of leads. I mean, you can do it just for a week, but the first week it's on the market, you'll get, possibly 10 leads. And maybe
Yeah.
of those, maybe 3 are legitimate. There's some crap in there, but it's worth it, I think.
I wanted to mention something that happened just this week. It was like a new way of prospecting that I fell into. After the last mastermind, when Glenn Baker asked people to give him a Google review, which I did, and he responded back to my review, and I took my review and his response and posted it on my Facebook page with just a one sentence saying, realtors need to respect each other. And I've had people stop me on the street saying that they saw that and we've initiated conversations. And that was simple. It took 3 minutes, just a new way to prospect.
Okay. Very, very good.
You can concentrate on
one subdivision or two and just market in that area. For me, I sold in one subdivision in Dr. Phillips, a total of 150 homes. So you don't have to sell a lot of home and running around spending gas. My 10-year-old car has only 42,000 miles. I can walk and show the house. So you concentrate one big area and one small area. So you can meet their needs. If you have more than one agent, go for more, but try to eliminate going too far to work. Maybe within 2, 3, 4 miles radius. That's what I've been doing for the last 25 years. I learned a lesson from running around in the beginning, but I think this is the best way to do it. Concentrate on where you live. That is your main subdivision. Then go out and get one or two subdivision in the same similar location. God bless you all.
Thank you for sharing. I want to see, is there anyone that's been intentional in changing the way that they have appointments by, instead of presenting, by intentionally asking different questions, and you can share what you've discovered from doing that? Have I gotten into your head is what I'm asking you. I know there's some of you out there.
It's Brian from Scottsdale, Arizona. Yeah, we've had several conversations, and you talk a lot about the questions, asking the right questions. And I'd say over the last couple of months, I've totally changed how I approach every client. I'm really thoughtful on my questions, and I don't want to, data vomit. So I ask a lot of questions. And yeah, that has definitely made a huge difference on just the body posture of myself, the body posture of that. You see it all tense and everything. All of a sudden, you see them kind of relax because we're having a conversation. It's not a sales pitch.
And let me ask you, do you think they feel like are you making them feel more important when you ask questions, or are you making them feel more important when you're preaching to them?
Definitely make them feel more important because you're showing an interest in them, and people love to talk about themselves and say something.
And who's in charge of a conversation? The person speaking or the person asking questions, in your opinion?
My opinion is the person that's asking the questions and the right questions.
Yeah. So I think that that's something that, the industry teaches us, to be prepared, to be intelligent, and to go and tell the sellers, hey, here's all my success. Here's how I'm going to sell your house. Here's what I think it's worth, right? And it's this whole process. And I think it's all been wrong, right? I think, my experience was when I've spent an appropriate amount of time preparing for an appointment, right? And then I ask the right questions. I never need to use the material that I used to prepare. And if you then present it just because you prepared it, it goes sideways. You don't need to do it. You need to ask the questions, solve for the opportunity, and then move on.
Yeah,
And
that's kind of like what I was talking about, that data vomit, right? We have this stack of stuff that we brought, and we feel we just have to get every bit of it in front of that person. But also that rapport building is so important, and that's only going to happen if you're asking questions.
So, and Brian, here's another little nugget that you could all use. When you have somebody that says something, foolish, where your normal reaction is to kind of defend it and tell them why they're wrong, right? You can use this phrase, hey, Brian, that's interesting. Why would you say that?
I love it.
Right? That's really interesting, Brian. Why would you say that, right? And then instead of you trying to convince them not to do that, right, you've just spun it back on them, right?
Yeah.
And many times they might have it, they might realize that they don't have a reason for saying something so foolish.
Right.
So that's the MMFI, make me feel important, right? That's really critical in building relationships and sustainable businesses. And Brian, do you track your numbers heavily, or not so much?
Unfortunately, not so much.
And off the top of your head, like how many of your transactions last year were new relationships you created versus referrals and past clients?
Probably one.
One new relationship?
Yeah, been a Brian Buffini guy since 2002. So I do a lot of that, keeping in touch with my database stuff. But I've also noticed a huge dynamic in how that works. That I think loyalty seems to be not as strong as it used to be. And that's why having more conversations when I'm getting out there, I'm holding more open houses every day. It's having more conversations, trying to build new relationships. Because the my go-to has always been dealing with my database and getting referrals from my database, and because that's slowing down, I think just as an economic thing, and just people are weird now. The focus now that on open houses that I'm doing and my more intentional conversations of building my database, building the relationships, I'm seeing that's where more of my new business is coming from.
If you were to make a guess, Brian, on, if there's 100 open houses done in your market, right, in a week or a month, whatever that period is, what percentage of them do you think are done with the professionalism and the intent to build new relationships versus they're there to tell their seller they did an open house? If you were to just give me your gut.
Uh, I would I think I would say it's probably up in the high 80, 90 percentile. They're there just to make the seller happy that they did an open house and it looks like they're working for them.
I would probably say that that's maybe even a little bit on the generous side, because if you look at it as, here is an opportunity for, people to walk in and you can build relationships. And when I look at, I thank Zillow for being able to give me a monetary value for an opportunity, right? Because if you ever bought leads, buying a lead in, what's your average sale price where you do business, Brian?
My average sale price is about 700,000.
So from what I know about Zillow, to get a buyer lead in that $700,000 range would probably be minimum 500 to maybe as much as $1,200 to get a live buyer on the phone and make that connection. Now, if you did an open house, and when you do open houses in your market, how many people walk in?
Oh boy, it's always hit and miss. It
So
could be, it seems to be like it's one or it's 8 to 10. It's not like two, three, four, five. It's either one or 8 to 10.
average might be 5 to 6, right? Although there's never an average, it's either hot or cold, right? So out of 5 or 6, how many of them are prospects for you to work with, just out of curiosity?
Since I started doing open houses again, I'm probably picking up about one reasonable contact per open house.
And when you get one reasonable contact, what would you say is the percentage of those reasonable contacts that in the next 6 to 12 months actually turn into a sale? 1 out of 4, 1 out of 3, 1 out of 2?
Oh gosh, it'd probably be even higher than that. 1 out of 7 or 8.
So you have to do 7 open houses to get one closed transaction. Is that about right?
Mm.
And the $700,000 transactions, 15, $18,000 commission. Is that about right?
Correct, yeah.
So that's $2,000 per open house. Is that worth it?
I don't even know how to answer that. I would say yes. I mean, who makes $2,000 an hour? Or 3 hours, that would be $700 an hour because I usually do 3 hour open houses.
Okay. So
Time.
that's kind of the mental exercise that I want everybody to look at when you're doing your business, right? And a lot of times when you're responding to emails, you're doing paperwork, you're doing stuff like that. If you were strictly intentional, you could probably pay somebody extremely well qualified, $35 to $50 an hour to do all of those activities, correct?
Yeah. That's
So think about where you're putting your time in. Another suggestion in terms of making your business more sustainable and growable would be to do something consistently at the same time every week. Does anybody send out a personalized weekly email to your sphere and database? I hope somebody does. 94 people, nobody does a weekly email?
I used to. I just slacked off of it. It used to be monthly only.
Okay, well this is the one thing from today then. When do we do it? When do we do the masterminds? Who can tell me? Brian, you're muted.
Fridays at 11.
Fridays at 11. And how often do we do them? Thursdays at noon.
Never.
Never.
You get the point? So if you build it in and it's something that's it's a routine, then you're going to do your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday weekly email to your sphere and database the same time every week, and it's going to be authentic. It's not a canned email. Because can you tell a canned email versus an authentic email?
Sure.
Right? You can.
But I think canned is better than nothing. And I
Right.
mean, you Bold Trail, you can do the hashtag, whatever it is, in each contact, and it'll send out a weekly a night. And people click on it, they like it. The market report.
Yes and no. Some people get really annoyed when they start seeing the same type of email from you that's not adding value, Beth. I feel like
I'm not getting a lot of unsubscribes. I'll just say that.
Well, some people are lazy when it comes to that, and they won't click the button unsubscribe. But a lot of people see things and they're like,
well, personal's better, but if you aren't going to do that, at least do something. Is I guess my
but like I think what Beth's emails are sort of a personalized, automatic search, right? Which is notifying them, which I think a lot of systems do that automatically. And if we were to get to the point where you spent a half an hour and you wrote something relevant about what's going on in your market, and Beth, your market is what's the Champions Gate, right?
So, yeah, Central Florida.
Right, but you like Champions Gate, right? So you can do an email about what's going on in Champions Gate and then what's going on in the rest of the local market. Brian, what's your market area? How would you define it, Brian?
I'm here. I'm sorry about that. How would I define my market? Whew. Well, being in Arizona is very, I guess, similar to Florida, because both Florida and Arizona, we have, I think, multiple selling seasons because we have such a huge active adult portion of our business. A lot of sales cycles go on school years, and then we also have our mid-October to mid-April when all of our winter visitors are coming in, and our population probably pops up about 200,000 people during that time frame. So it's a lot of people. So we have a lot of great exposure, but our markets, it's pretty strong most of the year. I mean, there's probably maybe 2 months in the summer that it slows down because it's so hot.
Right, but is there a particular part that you do most of your business in, like a section, a part of the valley?
Well, Scottsdale and the Southeast Valley.
So it could be as simple as, you sharing, hey, this week, there were 37 new listings. Last year, the same week last year, there was only 19. The list is set, like something that would be unique that they can't find anywhere else, that doesn't take you a lot of time and probably provides value and confidence to you when you create it and you know what's going on a little bit more in your market, right? And it would force you to organize your database, send that information out. People would see it. Most people might not look at it, but the people who a real estate transaction is relevant are probably going to pay more attention to it and say, "Hey, I've been watching your weekly communication, and I see that inventory is down. Would it be a good time for me to sell my house?" Right? And you put a little bit of a blurb in there that's authentic. Hey, inventory is down, prices are up a little bit. If you had any thoughts about selling, that might be the time to have a conversation, right? And then they read it. They might not immediately call you, but you're now getting in their head with true relevant information, and you're being consistent and you're making them feel a little bit special, right? And then focus on building your database. So if there's one thing from today, I know I put out a few things, but if there's one thing that everybody can do is pick a day of the week, find your voice and send out a message to your audience, to your tribe about what's happening in real estate, right? And if there's, 2 or 3 particular areas, you can put a little link. Hey, here's the, Canyon Hill section of Scottsdale. Here's the rest of Scottsdale, and here's the lower valley, whatever those areas are. And you can run the numbers. It would probably be helpful for you to run the numbers once a week so that you're, more aware. You have a self-awareness of what's happening, because sometimes we see things, we think it's this, but when we look at it, it's actually something a little bit different. If that's something that everybody can take away from here, clean up your database, pick a day of the week and pick a time and send it out that day of the week, that time every week. If you get if you're doing it Wednesdays at 10, Brian, and you have an appointment, this Wednesday at 10, you can do it Tuesday because it's only an email. You can hit delayed send, right? And everybody at 10 o'clock or whatever time you decide knows that they're going to get that email from you. And do you think people would value an agent if they knew you were more reliable and consistent? Or you think they want somebody who's inconsistent, scattered, and, hey, I work 24/7. I'll call me anytime. Like, to me, that doesn't instill confidence, right? That reeks of desperation.
I agree with that. I think it does as well.
So I hope that helps. Is there anything anybody want to share with the group? Is there anything that you're taking away from this, that you're going to immediately do something? Is there anybody that's going to do a weekly email at a certain time?
Now,
I
Rob,
hope you are.
your masterminds are a constant reminder of, reinforcing what we should be doing, and every mastermind offers something. So yeah, you feel like you really need to do something. Like, wake up, come on, let's get it done instead of putting it off, and be consistent. I agree. I'm thinking about doing something myself.
So Fran, I want to bridge the gap of edutainment, which is education that's entertaining, to action,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I know most of us, we come here and we hear these great ideas, and most of them come from your peers or are borrowed by me. I'm not a genius, but I'm a sharer of information, and then you leave this and you go to your daily activities and you don't do anything different as a result of it. I think that happens a lot, and I would just like maybe one thing to change that's going to help you with your business. Does anybody, and friend, you've been doing this a long time and you're managing people. Do you see agents that kind of become a victim of their own success and they become complacent because they get referral business and they lose the discipline to prospect?
It happened to me once, Rob, and that was a lesson well learned, where I saw someone list a house that, I didn't stay in touch with the people. And then I had a second one where a client reached out and said, "Are you still selling real estate?" I said, "Of course I am." He said, "Well, you used to advertise in this little newspaper, the Gazette, every week, and I don't see it anymore." I said, "Well, thank you for reaching out." And so I instituted it, and it's inexpensive to do, and I decided that I was going to do it. So you have to really keep up with these clients that you have if you expect to get business from them and help them through these transactions.
And friend, I'm glad you brought that up because that's two different components that I just want to isolate for the group. One is, staying in touch with your sphere and your clients, and, an email each week at a particular time and reaching out to them 4 times a year, whatever your cadence is there, is something that needs to be done. But my suggestion behind that is that early on in your career, you had to do more prospecting activities. You probably were begging to do an open house. You probably were, you maybe even did some cold calling. You might have bought some leads early on in your career. Once you've found success and people are calling you, you get to be a point of a little bit of complacency, and you stop prospecting cold leads and building new relationships. And it sounds like your confession was that you even neglected the referral source that you had. And
Correct.
some people were like, "Are you still in the business?"
Mhm.
So you open the eyes for everybody to two different points. One of them is letting your sphere, your database, the people that have worked with you know that you're still relevant in the business. Okay, that's the repeat business. So that's when you keep in touch with them, friend. That's where you get stuck at that, whether it's 100,000, 200, 250 level, because you hit that plateau, you're satisfied where you are, but then you stop growing. And then if you stop communicating with your people the appropriate way, you might have a client or two that goes astray. And then when you see that happen, it's a wake up call for you. And it sounds like that was a wake up call for you, Fran, correct? Like, it's very painful for somebody to say, "Hey, are you still in the business?" Like, what? But the layer on top of that is we stopped doing what got us to where we are, and, sometimes for teams and offices in the business, if somebody opens a new office, oftentimes they recruit enough agents to cover the bills, and then they become complacent. And the only way they stop recruiting is if 2 agents retire, and you're like, "Uh-oh, I got a problem," right? I now need to fill that up so that I stay at the status quo. But you stop with that entrepreneurial energy that you had when you first opened the door, right? Because when you first opened the door, if you're a team or if you have a real estate office, you have all this overhead, and you have to bring in revenue to support the overhead. Well, your business is basically the same thing.
Yes.
You get complacent with your business, and then sometimes and Fran, it happens to us all, right? Everybody has lapses in their business, and the only way that you can avoid the lapses are if you build in a consistent routine. Because there's lots of times when it's not convenient to do a mastermind at Friday at 11. I'd like to move it to Thursday at 12. But I know if I do that, a lot of things happen. Like, people will be confused. When is it, right? They won't look for it at that same time. And there's value to that. So if everybody here can steal or borrow a page from that and have that discipline to do it at the same time every week. Maybe clean up your database. Look at how are you adding new business to your database? How are you bringing new opportunities in? Because if you're not growing, you're shrinking, right? Because nothing ever stays the same, right? If you have 300 good clients, unfortunately, some of them move out of the area, some pass away, and if you're not supplementing it, it's getting smaller, right? It's just math. So,
One
for
thing
those
I
of you,
one thing I do, Rob, every morning is I have a call with 5 Remax owners or agents around the world, and also from markets that are feeder markets to our area. And the other day I listed a home in Port Charlotte, and before I left the table with the sellers, they mentioned this is their second home, and they have a home they need to sell in Nashville. Before I ended that day, they had set up an appointment to meet with my referral in Nashville, and they had set up an appointment to look at homes in Austin to purchase, to relocate. They've already under contract on both before I've sold their home here in Florida, because the market's a little slower here than those two markets. But that's an example of being able to offer your network to the existing client. And I'll make 2/3 of the money I'm going to make on selling their home from connecting them to 2 referral partners in other markets. And I think a lot of agents don't do a good enough job of remembering to share their network with their own clients. I think that's something to take away today.
yep. I'm going to, Frank, are you on?
We have Sharif here on the call too, Rob.
Okay, so we have Sharif and Frank, and then Adona, if you can just do a couple of safety, online safety tips here, because unfortunately that's becoming a bigger and bigger threat. And I'm going to be on at 12 o'clock with Daryl Davis on his podcast. So wish me luck, and I'm going to sign off a couple minutes early here. So you're welcome to join. The donor can give you some details if you don't have it already. And I'll see you all next Thursday at noon. Oh no, Friday at 11. Sorry about that.
Can you pass can you make me a co-host before you leave so we don't add the chat, please?
Yeah, I will do.
Let me do that.
Oh, Fred's going to do it.
Fred isn't. Yep, we're good.
All right.
I'm gonna
Bye,
do it.
everybody.
All right, so before I pass it on to Sharif, I just wanted to let you all know, I'm sure by now you have all been receiving these spam emails with buyers wanting to meet you guys on Google Meet or Zoom. Bobby Golden just briefly shared something with me this morning. He can't speak, but it's pretty much when you have a listing, you're going to receive an email saying, hey, I'm interested in this property. I saw it on another brokerage account like a Compass, Wyker, Keller Williams. It could even be on Remax. They reply back saying, yes, what questions do you have that I can answer? They said, oh, we would prefer to meet you on Zoom because phone connections can go either way. So just remember, if somebody wants to meet you on Google Meets or Zillow, you want to be sure to use your own link. Never click on their links. They may say, click here to schedule a meeting with me, etc. Not long ago, you guys should have received an email from the company. There was one of our agents who was hacked, and it happened within seconds in front of her. She couldn't even stop it. Where the client said, hey, I saw your listing, and we are very interested in listing our own property. We would like to interview you. And she said, sure, here's my Google Meets. They said, unfortunately, we can't click on yours, use ours. She was so busy. She clicked on their link. Within seconds, her whole account was blocked. They started using her Amazon. They purchased like 8 Amazon gift cards. They were trying to use her Zelle, her Venmo. So just be cautious. Always verify where those clients are coming from. As you all know, most buyers will not want to meet with you on Google Meets or Zoom. Even if they're out of state, you want to use their own link.
I've had 2 of those already.
Yes. So it's happening even today, especially on your listings. They know that you're busy. You will think they're real because it's coming through your own listing, which is live and active. So please be cautious. We want to make sure you guys don't fall for it. It just creates a lot of headache. This agent, she's like, Adona, it happened so fast. I couldn't stop it. I was like, do I call TD Bank? Do I call American Express? Like, who do I call first? So and her entire laptop was, they used a virus that says, do not close your laptop. It's updating. Please make sure if that ever happens to you, close your laptop, because that means they're actually sending you that virus to get all your accounts through that virus. Also, one thing I wanted to share with you guys, if you have seen, I know when we did the town hall meeting, you guys had questions about Canva. So yes, Remax LLC did collaborate with Canva. If you are interested, it's $149 a year. You may have your own account through Canva. However, what they did is you can register through Remax. You get the templates, they're already made for you. You can upload your own logo, whether you're on a team or you just want to upload your Remax, whether you're Remax Select Group, Remax affiliates, etc. And you can connect your MLS. So if you have a listing and you want quick templates that you can just post, they will be ready. I would just say hold off another month because I purchased it myself. I don't see a lot of templates. I think it's very new, so they're still building the system, but it's going to be great. You can either use Photify if you know about Photify. It's about $7.99 a month. Sometimes they have 50% off. If you purchase, like if you do monthly $7.99, cancel it, they'll offer you 50% off. But Canva will be better because it'll be integrated with your MLS. Sharif, I know you have a few minutes. If you don't mind just sharing us any updates with Mortgage World, I would appreciate it.
Spin market is heating up. With gas prices going up, the rates continue to go higher and higher. We're losing, a battle that's pretty tough right now. Prior to all this war, the rates were starting to go down. We saw rates in the, high fives. Now they're almost in the high sixes, which is not good for home buyers. But we're doing 2-1 buy downs, which is being very, very successful. I'm sure most of you know what a buy down is. If not, I can explain it to you. So basically what a 2-1 buy down is the first year of the note rate. So let's say the rate, I'm using 6.5 right now, hypothetically. So let's say the note rate is 6.5. The first year of the loan, 30-year fix, would be 4.5%. The second year would be 5.5%, and the third year would be capped at 6.5% for the remaining 27 years of the loan, with the purpose of doing a free refinance. We provide them a letter of free refinance within those 2 years, hoping the rates get below 6.5%. Now, with the buy down, the buyer cannot pay for the buy down. It's paid by the seller. And the way they do it is we do it through a seller's concession. So let's say the buy down costs are $7,000 or $8,000 and the purchase price is $500,000. We just make the purchase price $507 or $510, and we do use those extra funds for the buy down. It saves the borrower a ton of money on their monthly payments. It saves them a ton of money on interest, and they don't have that payment shock of paying such a high mortgage rate in the first couple of years of the mortgage. It's brought a lot of buyers back off the fence from buying, especially the way the rates are going. When they see a 4.5% or a 4.75 flashed in front of them, they get excited. Payments are low, and the ultimate goal is to just refi them out for free within those 2 years. So it's an exciting product. I haven't really gone over that with you guys much because I really didn't have to use it, but we're seeing that a lot now, and we're pushing that a lot with our buyers.
Thank you so much, Sharif.
Anybody has any question on it, you could always email me or call me, and I'll explain to you how it works and what the cost would be on the purchase price that you're purchasing it on, and how to work it out in the contract.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Frank, are you still
Hi,
here?
good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. So just actually, it's funny, Sharif, good lead in. Thank you. And I'm going to just touch on that same buy down. Yeah, the buy down is a great option. And just like Sharif said, at 6.5%, it's a great thing because you can do a 3.0 buy down, a 2.0 buy down, a 1.0 buy down. There's a lot of options. And with the rates going up, like Sharif said, with the oil prices and the gas prices, yesterday was a bad day in the bond market. In the morning, it started out great. Rates were looking good. Then in the afternoon, the market just tanked and rates went back up. Looking good again today based on the unemployment numbers. Not really much of a change. Rates did come down a little bit, but they're still in that mid to upper six range. On a 1.0 buy down, Sharif was talking about a 2.0 buy down. I'm going to talk about a 1.0 buy down. It works exactly the same way. For the first year, if the rate is at 6.5%, the first year rate would be 5.5%. So on a 650 purchase price with 20% down, The difference between the 6.5% rate and the 5.5% rate is a savings of $334 a month. That is enticing to somebody that's looking to save some money. And hopefully in the next 1 or 2 years, when the rates do come down, like Sharif said, getting into the refinance, picking up majority of the costs, they're going to have to set up their escrow account unless they want to, waive those. They have that option. But on the 1.0 buy down that we're doing, there is no cost for it. We actually will pick up the cost for it. So the buyer doesn't pay for it, the seller doesn't pay for it, nor does the realtor. So typically, like Sharif said, the buyer cannot pay it, but in this situation, and it's only with our 1.0 buy down program. I can't do it with a 2.0 buy down. It's just with the 1.0 buy down. There's no cost for the buy down.
That's correct. I don't mean to cut Frank off, but it's the same way with most lenders as well. With the 1.0 buy down, the lender usually picks up the cost on the 1.0 buy down. 2.1 or 3.1 bound down, the lender cannot pay the cost.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. So a lot of options out there, and like we say, just get them in front of us. We'll give them the options, and hopefully we can get them into a home. So a lot of great products out there. Just give us a call and reach out to us if we can answer any questions.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Before
Ivana.
we end the call, anyone have any questions on anything, whether it's about Remax platform systems, safety, or mortgage questions? All right. I guess no questions. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Friday and happy Mother's Day to those that celebrate.
Thank
Hopefully,
you.
all take some time to enjoy yourselves. Take care.
Donna, quick
Yes.
question. How do we get on to
Tyler shared the link. So before you leave, please click on the Zoom. It is his link, so just know that it's probably his. Tyler, did you share your own Zoom link or your registration?
That was actually Fred. He put the daily Daryl Speaks link up there. I can repost it though. So
If you can, please. Yeah, please, we would appreciate if you guys can join us. That would be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
I'll wait another minute in case you guys are copying the code.
Oh, it's meeting after meeting.
Meeting after meeting.